under God, liberty and justice for all.
No, I'm not doing this again, this we already knew this came in, so the same rules apply. Order of business is approval of the regular Thursday, May 29th, 2025. Do I have a motion? Oh, wait. Wrong. Hold on. You are. Sorry.
Okay.
Too many things. All in favor of approval of the regular board meeting minutes for June 16th, 2025? Say aye.
Okay.
Comment on agenda items?
No.
All in favor of approval of the consent agenda? All opposed? Motion carries. Okay,
It's down below.
Barrett, looks like you're back up.
Yeah, it's down right. This is the consent agenda. Okay.
Okay.
I can just switch input. Once you plug in. You want to
I can help you. I'm over here, I think, yeah. Yeah, let her have that one, I think.
Okay. So I'm going to start with enrollment training. Just to get the word. No, I'm new to the board and our reports are new, and this is a typical. So this is a picture of what yours looks like for June. I wouldn't typically present it in July because June. So the 24-25 year is 425 is the red, and then see that we budgeted for 55. Is that right? Better than 465. Almost 470.
Keep stressing that the average that we end of the year at for 48 or something.
Right? You know, see all the things, but we did plan pretty much during the entire starting year. And it was very similar in the last 2 years I didn't even. Prior 2 years, it wasn't as significant. Total information about why this is like this, but definitely The other school that I serve in this county is Conway, and they're a K-8 school. So they don't are unique, so they wouldn't be a comparable district. It is, I serve districts in San Juan County, and there's one that I know of that I would say the strength is happening for that as well.
And just talking to other superintendents, Burlington Edison lost 140, I think. Cedar Woolley certainly lost quite a few last year. So to us, those numbers don't want to hit our little body of 500 or
I was gonna say,
quite
10
an
students.
impact,
that's
yeah.
big.
Mhm.
And I am, again, aware that you guys are used to a much different look for your board reports. So as we get to know each other, you know, we'll be able to work with you and make sure that you're getting the information that you need. This report is required to be shown to boards in school districts. Information is required to be shown. And so for the year-to-date ending May, we have a June one also, so I'm just gonna kind of go through high level what you're looking at. Budget that was set at the summer. And then the actuals for the through the open POs and the remaining contract balances for salaries. There's not anything with revenue that's encumbered. It's an expense type thing, so it's like how much of your budget is remaining to be collected. As of May, you've collected 74.68% of what you budgeted to collect. Expenditures much the same. Same format, it does have encumbrances of the POs here. And so the number shown year to date, 85.56, that includes encumbrances. So that's it. Every PO were paid out in full. And we know that sometimes POs are blanket, so that number might be slightly higher than, but it calculates it for that ending percentage based on encumbrances. Then the total of the revenue for the year minus expenses for the year is shown in row E. That's then it's what we call the net budget. So in this month, it's negative 397,000. And that number and so if we take that 397 away from that, make sure that it's not made a balance. For June, thought I could get away with it. So for June, we're 80% of the revenue collected and 97% of expenditures. There's information in here. These are categorized in very high level groups. If you guys have questions about what might be included in those groups, but for the most part, they're kind of expenditures are your regular instruction, your special instruction, your categories. And so for June, the excess of revenues over or under expenses is negative 840. I want to make sure that the board is aware, there's some cyclical things going on in revenue and expenses that's causing this in this shorter paid apportionment in June, and they're making it. So in July, then all of the short pay from June will be added, and so it should all be go back to normal, but this is a big swing from the prior month. So I want to make sure you're aware that that's a lot of it. So that brings the ending total fund balance in June to 1.6. Didn't show the second page in the prior month, but this page kind of categorizes where your fund balance categories are. And what we're really looking at is this second to the last line. After your minimum and all of your restricted, committed, assigned, all of your, including the board's own imposed minimum fund balance, that's what you have in that designated. So we have a budget status report for all the other funds too. Capital projects, they have a budget status report. And their revenues are exceeding expenditures by 1.023. And so that total net adds to the beginning fund balance, and that brings their ending fund balance. Or the
ASB.
ASB right here. So for the ASB fund, June, there's a lot of definitely some actual revenues and then a lot of expenses in June for ASB. And so that fund has an ending fund balance of 82,000. Not least, the yellow school bus fund, transportation vehicle. In transportation vehicle fund, we don't see a lot of revenue from anything other than investment earnings until August. Time per year, we get a depreciation payment from buses that are on the schedule. Revenue that we wait till the end of the year to get it.
Vans or Suburbans, we can't use this for that.
So it has Taxi word. All right. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys very much for letting me present tonight.
Report for July and August, so carried.
Far right.
Oh,
There you go.
I want to talk about strategic planning. So the last strategic plan was done in 2018 for 5 years, since you talked about 2020. And so there's a couple ways you proceed with strategic planning. Some districts hire an outside consultant that's anywhere from $40,000 to $80,000 to come in and run a bunch of strategic planning sessions. Other districts, I think, like Stevens did this. Is why I think they said we need to do strategic planning, that's strategic planning. So and this isn't a vote or anything, it's just putting this out there to help us when we come into budget decisions, be able to say, how are we making our decisions? So I am proposing that we do it internally because we don't have $40,000 to $80,000 to hire an outside consultant, but also because we just went through the high school accreditation process, which current high school improvement. And with support from OSPI for years, right, has been tweaked a little bit. So all that planning and data feeds into the strategic. We also have laws. I mean, school districts exist by law for a very specific reason. And we have this State Board of Education, which then gives us guidance what we're supposed to be educating them on. What a graduate from a high school in Washington State should be expected to be able to do. So all of those things, we can do a strategic plan and do whatever we want, but the fact is there's laws and guidance already that tells us what we're supposed to be doing. So I'm going to hand out my proposal to you, not that you're going to read it today, but this takes the supposed to be doing the what's called a portrait of graduates. So every district is supposed to come up with what does a concrete graduate look like. It's different from a Mount Vernon graduate, from a Burlington Edison, but there's buckets. Like the state has already said your graduates need to be able to do these things, but there are unique factors possibly for concrete graduates. I don't know. I mean, so that there is room in a strategic plan to personalize it to your district. And so based on all those other things I mentioned, comprehensive needs assessment, the school improvement plans, the and just now being, this is going to be my 5th year in the district, hopefully having a good sense of what staff and students and families want. This was my attempt to want to say, and sorry I don't have it for you up here, we always talk about how low our scores are. 2024 changed how they report on math, English, and science proficiency. They used to say you were proficient if you were college ready. So that was in a scale of 1 to 4. That means you were getting a level 3 or a 4 on state tests. Well, as we know, not everybody is going to college, and so starting spring started proficiency at 2 levels: the college-ready proficiency, and then the hey, these students are doing what they're supposed to do at that grade level for mastery. When you put those numbers in, we are doing fantastic, actually. And so I put in here concrete versus Darrington, Cedar Woolley, Burlington, Edison, Mount Vernon, LaConner, based on the spring 2024 data, because the spring 2025 data won't be out until the fall. And so you can see we actually, our students are doing fine. It doesn't mean there's not room for improvement, but the goal statewide is students by 2030 are at 90% proficiency in English and math. I did want to highlight with, I guess, the constraints or barriers that is the story of concrete, like, oh, our students are doing pretty darn well. And so I wanted that out there.
That would be for like if it's lower graduation rate.
So I was just gonna say, why is our graduation rate so low?
Compared to the other ones that we're doing just as well.
Well, this was based on 2024. 2024 was our really small graduating class of 13. This,
Because 24 was last year.
no, 25 was this year.
I mean,
So this year it was 26.
it was 20, class of 23.
That was little.
The
I
13.
thought last year was small too.
No, they all got 20s.
Yeah. Well, I think those couple classes there we got really hit with, like, going to open doors, dropping out, things like that. Or because we have such a small class, when you use 2, our percent is so much less than if you had a class of 500 and you lost 5, right?
Right.
Yeah, so. Darrington, though, has a very high graduation rate, so, yeah, this is something to look at, to say, what is it? I mean, when we were working on the accreditation team, like Sherry Van Wagner pointed out, we did really well with graduation when we had tried dedicated to mentor the ninth graders, right? To make sure our ninth graders were not failing any classes, because if you only take 6 credits a year and you need 24 credits to graduate, you can't fail a class. So part of this and our school improvement plan is to make sure we do have support for those ninth graders, especially, or the 8th graders as they move up, to catch them so they don't. Yeah, there's no way I can make this up, yeah. So.
This is interesting that our school district has 52% attendance and 80%. Interesting. Ours is very comparable.
Yes, I mean, yes.
Makes sense.
I do think also a school and the school board can approve, and we actually have a policy in place, we just don't have the procedures in place. Because the Connor is so high percent Native American, when those families say, we're gonna go fishing, they have a mechanism in place to count that 2 weeks of fishing or 2 weeks of whatever for attendance. We have a policy in place that would allow us to, like I said, we just don't have a way to track it yet. But, so that way it doesn't hit it hits their attendance because the student's not physically there, but it doesn't hit their ability to earn credit. Their cultural activities, yeah. So that would be my guess. The same thing happens up there. Yeah. So anyway, this is just for you to look at. My proposal is we use the first community forum in September, October to have a community forum about strategic planning, but we would need to decide the pathway we're going to do strategic planning before then. How much, there's no question we want input from staff and students and families and community, but what is the process for that? So that is my presentation.
A lot of this
Yeah.
works out, it's very impressive, a lot of it worked out through the
Recommendation, yeah.
That's great.
Yep.
Final reading of policy 2023, digital citizenship, media literacy, and artificial intelligence code of conduct. Do I have a motion to approve that?
I move we approve the final reading policy 2023 digital citizenship and media literacy.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. A lot of policy revisions here.
So I was going to say, and
Oh, okay. So we need a motion for approval of the first reading of revised policy 3205, sexual harassment. 3205, procedure is also revised.
So,
okay, do we have a, yeah.
Okay. Now we can vote. Okay. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Also need approval of the first reading of revised policy. That prohibited, and then procedure 1511 also. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Policy 3210, non-discrimination, and procedure 3210 also revised. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we also need a motion to repeal policy 3206, pregnant and parenting for students. Clarification, is they were required to repeal this. Current federal, yes, law. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Policy 5012, parental, family, or marital status and pregnancy or related conditions of. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, this is our big one. We need a motion for approval of resolution 1525, adopting the 2025 budget, the 4-year budget and math summary, and the 4-year enrollment projection and appropriations.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed? For our first meeting today, resolution 1524, authorization to declare surplus and list property for sale in Birdview Green. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. On resolution to invest 1522 and 1523. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Comment on non-agenda items? Okay. Our meeting will be on Tuesday, August 16th. Its regular work session will be on Tuesday, August 26th. Yeah. And the next regular board meeting will be on 6 p.m. on Thursday, August 28th, 2025, here. Administrative building. So.